when we have a look at our niches and who we want to work with, we can be like geographically specific. So whether we are a service-based business with a shop front, so Lyndall, I'll use you as a hairdresser, for example. You wouldn't want to advertise hairdressing outside of the Dubbo region.
No.
But Rochelle, with your niche and the women that you work with, you have the opportunity to work with them online if you choose
Yes.
to. Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing. So you don't have to choose to work with people online or through Zoom. You can choose to have it face to face, because I can also imagine, not that I've been in that situation, but I can sympathize with your niche in that it might be nice to have that face to face connection.
Yeah, I definitely, all the programs are completely accessible through Zoom and internet. And, but in saying that, if they're close enough to Dubbo, I go through every effort to try and find a place we can sit that is comfortable with them, and we do it in person. So, yeah.
Yeah, okay. That is really good. So today we're looking at, welcome to everyone that's watching this online. It is recorded. Today we're looking at niche, how we can niche down, because the more specific we can get about who our ideal client or who our niche is, the easier it is to create offers, create content, and shape our brand and our authentic voice and how it is that we're actually going to help that niche. For those that haven't heard of the word niche, it's essentially your ideal client. It is a group that you pick to work with within the market. I always recommend for everyone that I work with to get really specific about who that is. This is a worksheet that I will provide you with today's recording, so you can work through this yourself with your own niche. And I've used an example that I got from someone who I connected with on Instagram, and I asked her what her niche was, and she said it was women who suffer from trauma. She was also struggling and feeling overwhelmed with creating content for this niche or for this group. She wasn't attracting a lot of clients. She had a few clients, and a lot of the way her clients were coming in were through word of mouth or recommendation, which is a great way to attract clients. But sometimes that pool dries out, and you want to start to be able to attract them through other methods. So breaking that down a little bit further about why this isn't specific enough. When we say women, this is an extremely broad group. So we can look at who are they. We can break it down further. We can have a look at their age. We can have a look at what other challenges they face, what they struggle with. We can look at what their current situation is, and we can look at where they want to go in terms of desired outcomes. So, and then looking at women who suffer from trauma. So this is more like a qualifying question as well. And I would love to know what woman hasn't suffered from trauma at some point in their lives, right? So we can have a look at what is the trauma. Rochelle, and you've got like a really beautiful example of your niche. What is the trauma that your niche may have experienced, and is it affecting their ability to do something? When we can have a look at, I've broken this down further to be like women in their early 20s who have experienced childhood trauma in the form of emotional neglect. So from that niche, it's more specific. We're looking and targeting a specific type of person. We're looking at a specific trauma. And we're able to create content and build our offers to specifically help this group of people. So with this worksheet, this is what we're going to be running through today in this masterclass. So really think about how specific your niche is. And this is something that a lot of people struggle with in terms of refining who their niche is, because I think there's this belief that if you refine further, you limit the group of people that you can work with. you make it smaller. And when we do that, we feel like we're missing out on this huge other audience. The biggest thing to remember here is that what we're doing is creating offers and targeting our niche. That doesn't mean that you won't find people outside of that group who are attracted to you and want to work with you as well. It's more that we're looking at what we're creating, what content we're putting out, and how we're adding value to that specific group of people. So the first question is, who is your niche? You can just have a brain dump here, write down lots of different stuff that come to mind about who your niche is. We'll break this down further with other questions, but we can look at, like, do they have children? Do they have a family? Do they have a full-time job? Do they physically leave their house to go to work? Do they take kids to daycare? Do they work from home? Do they work online? What is the current situation of your niche? Because this is going to be who they currently are. We can then have a look at who do they follow on social media. And this is where we start to get into market research for creating content. When we can find other social media accounts that are similar to us and work with the same niche, we can have a look at their content. We can go to their social media page and we can see what's resonating well with their content, with their niche. So if you're struggling to find a trending reel or a trending audio that is suitable for a topic that you might have, you might find this over on another page that has the same niche as you, if you've got similar themes and messages. We can have a look at, if you log into, I'm going to focus on Instagram for the purpose of these masterclasses, but if you log into Instagram on the computer, you can hover over images and it'll tell you what the engagement was for that image for other social media accounts. So if we find a page that is similar to you, has the same niche, we can hover over the posts that they've recently put up and see how their audience is interacting with their posts. This is free market research. If they're posting a lot about a specific thing and it's not reaching it's not reaching high levels of engagement or a broader audience, we can start to tell that if we do the same thing with our audience and it's the same niche, it may not sit as well with them either. We can have a look at why they might follow these accounts. So this is also free market research. We can have a look at what types of content these bigger accounts put out. We can have a look at, the different themes that they might speak about each week. Once we've done that, we can start to think about how we want our niche to feel when they see our social media account. What is the feeling that you want to create for your niche? Do you want them to feel hope? Do you want them to feel inspired? Do you want them to feel creative? How is it that you want them to feel? It might be as simple as you might just want to give them the belief that they can achieve their desired outcome. We can do this through lots of different content, and we'll talk about that in MasterClass III, I think, about content creation. But we can evoke these emotions through testimonials, through our origin story. So what is our story? Why did we start our business? Who are we behind the business? Once they start connecting with us, that's when you can start building a brand and a connection with that niche and that audience. So when you go to reach out to help them, whether that be in the form of free content on social media, a freebie that you might give out for your niche, or whether that be a program, we can start boosting that engagement, that connection, and progressing them through what it is that we offer. Next, we can look about what worries our niche and what do they stress about. This is a big one, and I think this is also, like, if we look at women who suffer from trauma as a very broad niche, we can refine it further by looking at what they worry and what they stress about. But if we break it down even further to being women in their 20s who suffered, childhood trauma in the form of emotional neglect, if we start to have a look at what that might look like today, what that might look like for them now, what is it that worries them? Is it their current relationships? Is it that they aren't in a relationship and they want to be, but they won't let people in? We can, break this down much further. If you're on the call live now and you want to break down your niche, just drop your niche in the chat or just unmute yourself and tell me who your niche is, and we can go through these questions based off your niche as well. Or we can keep going with my chosen theme.
Well, mine is fairly specific at the moment to women 28 to about 45 who have endured pregnancy or infant loss.
Okay, lovely.
And who are looking to, so yeah, there's lots of things I need to look at, like how long ago I think that they had suffered the loss.
Definitely. And I think even just doing like what other accounts do they follow on social media? So there might be a lot of accounts that support them in that process. They might be looking for things like motivational quotes or quotes that they resonate with and they want to feel like understood, is how I'm assuming they'd want to feel. The other thing I think, just remember with this, if you have picked a niche and you don't know how to answer these questions on their behalf, ask them. Find them and ask them, what do you worry about? What are you stressing about at the moment? So Rochelle, from your experience working with women within this niche, what would you say are their biggest worries and stresses? I think we've just lost Rochelle. So if you don't know who or what your niche is worrying or stressing about, ask them, reach out to them. You might find as well, if you're a health and wellness coach, that you might be your ideal client. You might be your niche. So a lot of people get into health and wellness coaching because they experienced a transformation within their own life and they want to allow other people to feel that same way. So you could have a look at what was worrying you when you were in the current situation of your client. What were you stressing about? Welcome back, Rochelle.
Sorry,
That's okay.
That question.
Did you hear the question before you dropped off?
Yeah, sorry, I just missed the end of it. What was the question again?
So from the women that you've worked with, what would you say are their biggest worries or stresses?
They have a lot of fears.
Yeah.
And mistrust in the universe and the world in general. A lot of self-blame and guilt, and probably the other thing would be not knowing how to move forward.
Yeah.
So a lot of them want to. A lot of the ones I've worked with want to, which is why they seek me out.
Yeah.
But they're still, when they get to me, I've got no idea what that looks like. But as you just said, I just heard you say, because they know I've done it. Yes, that is my story.
Yeah.
And I'm addressing gaps in practice that I was never offered. I guess that is one thing that attracts them, is they know it can be done, so they need that hope.
Yeah.
To be shown that hope. Yeah.
And I think these are beautiful things. So a lot of the reasons why people start small businesses, or why predominantly who I work with, women start small businesses to help and offer assistance to others, is because they've experienced something themselves. And that creates, like, there's so much content you can create then from your own story to allow you to connect with your audience. Like, they're going to connect with you when they know you have been through what they are currently going through and you've come out the other side. So origin stories can be super powerful in that regard. And so when you're filling out this, if you fall into if you are your niche or you were your niche. So if you were in the spot that your niche is currently at and you've moved to this desired situation, which is where your niche wants to go, you can answer this on your niche's behalf. But I also recommend that you reach out to other people within your niche and ask them some of these questions, because you might be surprised by some of the stuff that comes up. Before I create any courses or content or things like that, I always love to go through this exercise, especially because as we grow and change, you might find that your niche also changes. So if you're finding you're changing your offerings, but you aren't really visiting who your offerings are for or who your niche is for, I recommend you go back to this exercise prior to creating a new offering. We can then have a look at what are they wanting to change? What is our niche wanting to change in their life? So we can look at where they're at, what their current situation is, what they're worrying about, what they're stressing about, and what it is they want to change. They may not know how they're going to change, but they know that they want something to change, and we need to know what that is. If they have trouble sleeping at night, what keeps them up? Quite often they might project their thoughts into the future, worried about something, or fearful of something, or frustrated with something. So if they're up at night, what is keeping them up? What is, what's their pain point? We can have a look at what health and wellness goals they are working towards. We can have a look if they're mainly physical, if they're mental, if they're spiritual. Are they looking for connection? Because I would call connection a health and wellness goal. We all need that connection in life to feel understood, to feel, a part of something, a part of a community. And we can start to have a look at what they're working towards in terms of their health and wellness. We can have a look at where they hang out online or in person. So before, when we were talking about if you were a brick and mortar service-based business where you have clients come to you, where do your clients hang out? Do they go to other local cafes? Do they go to the butchers down the street? Do they go to the park with their kids? Do they go to a certain daycare center? We can have a look at where, what I call them is touch points. So where the people go and what they touch and do throughout the day. If you're looking more of an online space, are they hanging out on Instagram? Are they in a Facebook group? There might be a Facebook group where they get provided with that community or that support. They might be provided with lots of educational webinars somewhere. They might be reading certain blogs. Where are they? What are they doing? Who are they hanging out with? And this comes back to as well, where do they spend their time? So you might have someone that goes to a local coffee shop and the butchers, but they only go to that local coffee shop once a month because they're spending most of their time at home hanging out with the kids. They may not get opportunities to go out as often. So they might still be in a physical location for your brick and mortar business, but they may not actually go out to some of those physical touch points. They might be mainly at home. They might be a homebody. And so you can still reach out to them and access them online to provide them with value. Again, what blogs and newsletters do they read? And this is going to relate probably a lot back to their current situation, the transformation they want to experience, and where they're going to go. How are they going to get there? What's their desired outcome? Facebook groups, I think, are an underutilized form of connection. You don't have to have your own to jump into other people's Facebook groups to connect with your niche or to add value to them. There might be, for health and wellness coaches, there are a lot of Facebook groups that talk about health and wellness or nutrition. Rochelle, I'm sure there are a lot of support groups for new mums or support groups for mums who have experienced loss, or even families that have experienced loss. You might find that there's lots of different groups that you can jump into. One, you can start to have a read of what some of the comments are. So they might be posting things, expressing where they want to go, what they want to do, how they want to get there. They might talk about their experience. They might talk about where they currently are at, what they're struggling with. And you can start to find some of the answers to these questions there as well when you start to read and research. You might even find the answers are in the comments of the post in the Facebook group. So if someone puts up a post saying, you know, what's something you're working towards this week, and you can start to have a look at the comments and see what everyone's working towards. So this kind of comes back to, they may be health and wellness goals. They might be a state of mind or a mindset. They might be working towards saying affirmations each day. And so when you can start to see what it is that they're working towards, we can start to have a look at what we offer and if it's something that can help assist or support them. We can have a look at whether or not they prefer Facebook or Instagram. So this will also impact how you reach your audience. I predominantly like Instagram, but I'm finding that I've got a lot of my niche on Facebook, a lot of my niche in Facebook groups. And because I spend a lot of my time hanging out on Instagram, my engagement on Facebook is quite low because that's not where I'm prioritizing my time or my content. So that's something that I'm trying to shift to make sure what I include on Instagram is in Facebook, and then almost using Facebook like a Google Drive or a Dropbox, when you can create a space to kind of store free trainings or free pieces of information. You can you can start to reach further. If you do have a Facebook group, just a quick piece of advice here. Most of them have questions you have to answer before you enter that Facebook group. Make sure that you ask for your niche's email address before they enter your Facebook group. Today we've spoken about Facebook and Instagram. These are what we call rented platforms. We do not own Facebook or Instagram. The content that we put out there, it reaches who the algorithm will allow it to reach based off the content that you've put out there, your previous engagement, the number of followers you have, watch time, interactions and engagement on your post or piece of content. When we can start to collect our niche's email address, we can reach out to them directly. And Facebook groups, if you don't have a website or if you don't have a system in place to collect emails just yet, Facebook groups are a great way to do that because you can ask them for their email address when they're coming into the group. And in the group, you might offer a free training. You might go live once a week for 5 minutes to talk about a new topic or something like that. We can start to have a look at what keywords they're searching for on Google. What questions are they asking? So I love typing into Google. You'll start typing in a question. Google will like autofill what question it thinks that you're asking. What is your niche asking? What answers do they want to their questions? Another way that you can find out this is you can use Instagram and pop up the question sticker, and you can ask them to ask you that question. So what questions would you like me to discuss, or what questions are you currently asking yourself about X, Y, or Z? Don't forget to utilize your niche to answer these questions. So you might even ask them, you might pop some of these up onto your poll on Instagram, and you might do it on Facebook as well. So do you prefer Facebook or Instagram, and see what the comments are across both platforms. It might help you with where you're going to direct your content. You might say, you know, what health and wellness goals are you working towards at the moment? And quite often when we put up a question on Instagram, people are just in the mode of swipe or tap. So if you can create it as a poll, it can also help you with your responses. So you might have what health and wellness goals are you working towards at the moment? Are they predominantly physical, mental, spiritual, emotional? Get the responses to that. You can say, are you working towards having a clearer mind? Are you working towards being in the moment? I'm using mindfulness as an example here. Are you working towards eating a balanced diet? Are you working towards like increasing your education around nutrition? Are you working towards training 3 times a week or getting 10,000 steps? Or you can just start to pre-populate some of the, I would say, more common health and wellness goals that people set for themselves to get them interacting on your poll. And once you start to get that interaction, you can then reach out to the people that answer your poll and say, hey, thanks for commenting on my poll. I saw that you said you were working on physical goals, which are this, this, and this. I'd love to know what's your time frame for your goals? Or do you have, what processes or things do you have in place to achieve your goals? We can ask them lots of different questions about that. We can ask them if they have any other goals that they're working towards. We can look at pain points. So we can ask them, what's worrying you at the moment? Or do you struggle with going to sleep at night? If they say yes to that, we can then reach out to them and say, hey, I saw you voted on my poll saying that you struggle getting to sleep at night. I'd love to know, is this because you have too much on your mind? Or is there another reason why you're finding difficulty with sleeping? We can ask them, what are your favorite social media accounts to follow? Drop their handles here. And if you've got, okay, I'm going to assume something here. If you've got a Instagram account for your business, we want our niche to be following us. It's great when friends and family support us, but the problem with friends and family supporting us on our page is that they may not be our niche or our ideal client. So the idea with social media for business is that you treat it like a business. The more people that come through your shop front, the more people that follow you, the more people that you're going to be able to impact, the more lives that you're going to be able to assist and support. We're not looking at this from a point of sales at the moment. So we're not reaching out to them to ask questions about selling something. We're reaching out to them to find out who they are, what they're working towards, what their pain points are, and how they want to experience, I suppose, a transformation. The other thing we can look at is, do they scroll social media with their phone on silent? I always include this one because I'm a big fan of captions. If you are talking at your camera in a reel, on a story, in any way, shape, or form, you should have captions turned on.
I couldn't agree more with this. I never ever have my sound on unless ever.
Neither.
No.
Exactly. And so the amount of people that I see with the best intentions to reach out to their niche, they speak to their story, and their message and their information might be super clear, concise, and add so much value. But if I can see that you're talking and I can't see what you're saying, and my phone is on silent, and I've got other things going on, I'm not going to turn my phone off silent to listen to what you have to say. I'm going to swipe to the next story. So I think
also,
that's the big
accessibility, because I'm actually hearing impaired. So there's no use me even trying to listen to something quiet with my kids around, because I can't hear a thing. I can't even hear the telephone. I have subtitles. The TV, I have subtitles on. So
yeah,
I will never really listen to a reel except to turn it up and listen to the music or something. Because I wanted to know what they're dancing to.
Yeah, and I would use that as the example where, and like most of the time, the reels don't have like some of them do have words, but usually it's only a few words in a reel. But most of the time, people will turn up the volume to listen to the sound on a reel, because it's more like watching like TV or YouTube, or watching something where you want the whole experience. Whereas when you're clicking through stories, sometimes when you're just flicking through your feed, not for the purpose of, you know, finding trending audio and stuff like that, this is my example, I won't have the sound on. The other thing that I'm going to recommend here, if you're going to put out a story, it's great to have captions, but also put a hook, put a heading to your story. So I want to know as soon as I see it what I'm going to be watching, rather than waiting for your text to come up. And I know this is ridiculous. Like, you should be able to spend 15 seconds listening to the start of a story to see if it's something you want to continue listening to. But these days you've got like 0.7 of a second to capture someone's attention and get them to stay on the piece of content that you've delivered. So add your headline. If you're talking about niche, put this is about niche. This is for business owners. Make sure to watch the next 4 stories. Give them a direction. Tell your audience what you need them to do to get value from what you've delivered. Don't assume that they know. Quite often, I will do testing with putting content out on my social media. If I put the same post up, but one says double tap if you agree, and the other one doesn't say that, I'll get more likes on the one that I said double tap if you agree. Because you've given them a direction, you've given them a purpose, you've told them to do something. So you could do the same thing with like double tap to affirm, or drop a love heart in the comments if you agree with me, or don't get them to do too much. Dropping an emoji is about the extent of what your audience can do at any given time. Sometimes you'll get people interacting further with full sentences, but quite often you won't. So when you ask for them to comment something, it's, for my audience, I know it's rare that they will. They need a poll where they can just click a button and then swipe to their next story. When we can fill out all of these questions and answer all of this stuff for our niche and for our specific niche, we have created our own content strategy and plan. We have content buckets with oodles of things that we can talk about and things that we can assist our niche with. When we create content and deliver information to our niche, we want to add value. So this next bit, the above information will be invaluable to you when you're developing your content. And there are 2 types of ways we create content. One is for engagement, and one is for sales. So this is where we can start to implement a strategy to turn our followers into fans, into paying clients. And this is where we can create that sense of community and connection. So I've already spoken about this before, but quite often when you have a niche, they might feel isolated from everyone else. They might feel that they're unique in their situation. They may not realize that there's a lot of other people going through the same thing as them, and that joining together and supporting one another is way more powerful than trying to do it alone. And sometimes all they need is a coach or a point or a person that they can follow on Instagram, that they can work with potentially. They just need to be able to see you. You need to be visible to let them know that they're not alone in whatever they're going through. Sometimes that is enough for people on most days. Just to know that, you know, you might be having a rough day today, and that's okay. Everyone's going through the same thing within your niche. Everyone has up and down days. You know, you may not have been able to work towards your goals today. You may not have been able to get off the couch today to do something, whatever it is that you need to do, but that's okay. Sometimes we just need to have that space and that time to sit with where we're at, and tomorrow will be a better day. It might be just something simple like that, a post that you can resonate with them to let them know that they're not alone. You might even do a post where, like, comment below if you're in this current situation, or drop an emoji below if you're currently experiencing something like this. Or if you explain your origin story and why you started your business, you could reach out and say, have you been through something similar? Drop a love heart in the comments if you have. And that's another point and way in which we can reach out to them. So we want to build that community and connection, and this is where we do it through our brand and who we are. There might be 5,000 groups or 5,000 businesses that do the exact same thing that you do, but the thing that they don't have is you. You are your brand. You are your business. You show up. When you show up and you show this to your niche, they see that. When you express your point of difference, when you express your origin story, your passion, your dedication, even just the fact that you know your niche, you know who they are, you know what their pain points are, you know where they're currently sitting, what their situation is, you know how hard it might be to get into the mode of transformation to move to their desired outcome. When you can express that through your content, you start to make this community and this connection. They relate to you, they trust you, they like you, they want to work with you. Even outside of that, they might refer a friend to work with you. So if they're enjoying your content and they appreciate what you do and put out there, if they find that they're not your ideal niche, they might know someone who is. That's also where you can create a call to action on content like, are you currently experiencing this situation, or do you know someone who is? Tag them in the comments. It starts to bring your niche over to your page, and they start to follow and appreciate what you're putting out there with your content. The last thing that I want to look at, which I've looked at in a few of my masterclasses previously, is mind mapping our client's current situation to their desired situation. What happens here in the middle is that this is your offer. So we can look at the client's current situation, where they're currently sitting. By answering the questions above, you will have a lot of content to put here in this current situation. I also want you to include what limiting beliefs your clients are telling themselves. So they may have a belief that they will not get past their current situation and into a desired situation, whether that be their emotional state, whether that be that they've tried to previously and haven't been able to, whether it be someone once upon a time told them that they would never be able to do it, and so they now believe that they can't do it. What's the current situation? What are your clients' limiting beliefs? And then we can have a look at where our clients want to be. What are their goals? What are they working towards? What is their ideal situation after they've experienced this current situation? Where do they want to go, and what's their desired situation? Once we can mind map this and have a look at, you can look at their fears, their worries, you can look at what the transformation is that they want to experience, the change, things like that. Once we do that, we've got oodles of content here, but we can also start thinking about what we offer them and what we're able to provide our clients. So at the moment, you might have one offer, which is coaching. You might have one program. You might have one price and one thing that you can offer your clients to get them from their current situation to their desired situation. When we can start to break this down even further, though, we can start to think about what else we can use to make this bridge and make this gap shorter. We might look at creating affirmations for them to say each day. We might be able to provide them with journal prompts to make them realize their current situation and that they can get to their desired situation. I'm going to use the example of a health and wellness coach and potentially like an awakening of sorts. A lot of the times before you become a health and wellness coach, the ones that I've worked with, they've experienced their own sort of transformation. In the spiritual realm, a lot of people call that an awakening, but that doesn't resonate with my clients. So I kind of call it this intense moment of self-awareness. You start to realize where you're at and that it's not where you want to be. Your ideal client may be in this current situation, but they may not realize that there is a better situation that they could be experiencing. we can give them journal prompts to reflect on where they're at. And this might be the thing that helps them awaken to the moment that they're currently in. When we get caught up in day after day after day routine, waking up, you might go to the gym, have breakfast, go to work, come home, cook dinner, eat dinner, watch TV, go to bed, wake up, go to the gym, go to work. Might be the same for a mum. You might get woken up by the kids 5 times a night. And then you might wake up in the morning and have them running all around the house with shit everywhere, trying to make your coffee. You have 2 sips and then you have to go and help the kids get ready for whatever is on for the day. You then come back to a cold coffee. You finally get the kids ready. You might take them to daycare or to the park or to wherever. And you might find that it starts to get monotonous in the activities that you do. And when this happens, we can lose sight of some of the values that we hold. So if we're in a current situation where, I'll use the first example, so you might have a value of independence or of education or of, self-development. And so you're expressing those values while you're getting up each day, you're going to the gym, you're going to work. But you might have this other value of adventure or spontaneity. And after you've been in Groundhog Day expressing your values of work, of whatever else, you might find that there's something missing from your life. And so you start to wonder what is missing. But you may not realize that until there's a catalyst for change. You might see an advertisement that is a trip, a holiday overseas. You might hear of someone else going overseas. You might flick through your Instagram and follow a travel blogger and see that they're often doing something else. So we need to have a look at our ideal client's current situation and what the catalyst is for them to want to move from here to here. It doesn't have to be a physical thing. It could be an emotional thing. So your clients might be in a certain state here emotionally. They may not believe that they're able to move from this situation. They may not feel that they're ever going to move from this situation. They might feel stuck here. And so we need to think about what's going to be the catalyst to let them know that they can reach this desired situation. Is it going to be a DM from you? Is it going to be like daily affirmations? Is it going to be some journal prompts? Is it going to be one masterclass that you might run online? Is it going to be a meditation or things like that? We can start to have a look at how we can bridge this gap. I highly recommend you do this exercise for your ideal clients because this is ultimately going to help you craft your perfect offer and also your perfect pieces of content to attract your ideal client from their current situation to get them to their desired situation through your products and services. Did you have any questions, Rochelle?
No, I have a lot written down.
Yeah.
No questions yet.
So I will be sending out this worksheet with the recording from today. You might find it difficult to break down who your niche is and get specific. If you do struggle with this, please reach out to me and we can mind map this together. Once you have your niche or you have an idea of who your niche is, I'm very open to you sharing that with me and we can review it together to see if it's specific enough to help you get to where you want to be in business. Any questions?
So
That's okay. I was just saying I'll send this out so you can workshop this. I think you're very clear about who your niche is, but I think it will definitely help you to fill out some of these other questions to start doing some either market research or creating those content buckets.
Yeah, I'm not getting the engagement I thought I would, so I need to be more specific about my content.
Yeah, if the other thing that I'm going to do in the 4th masterclass is we're going to do some Instagram audits. So there's a few people who have signed up to this, but I'll probably take 4 or 5 Instagram accounts, and we can do an audit on the call. So we can look at, we'll look at Instagram bios. So how you can optimize your bio, just the wording in the text at the top. And then also have a review of the content to see what are some things that could be improved upon. So if you want to be one of those accounts, let me know. And we can definitely review that.